So now I'd like to welcome up Warner Adam, our CSFS Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you, Don. Denise Zakhuze Skyze Masai notice Nijin, Notly Within a Kaya the Adan by Yetzel Texanawat, Adans as Nilkat, Lanas would diesel do as Delhi Hotsana, will it's at Nitzol steel. First of all, thank you to the Notley people for allowing us to meet in their territory to discuss our accomplishments in the past year, and also to provide our presentation in moving forward. Much gratitude to Barbie and Chief Priscilla for her opening remarks. Certainly, CSFS has, I thought it was 35 years old, but somebody told me it was 36, so we need to probably find exactly how old we are. And my picture looks a little bit sly, Marlena. So again, as we reflect on our journey 37 years ago, 36 years ago, or 35 years ago, whatever the case may be, we have come a long way. And we've come a long way because of the work that our elders did at that time. At that time, they had no resources but themselves, their knowledge, and their forefathers, and the wisdom that was bestowed upon them. Imagine that, imagine 36 years ago when in our territory, the first settlers started coming in. That really changed the fabric of how our communities and how our people lived in harmony with nature, in harmony with each other, respecting territory, respecting life. And then comes newcomers that totally changed the fabric of our society. Nevertheless, the elders were taught by their elders to ensure that they never lost their language, that they never lost their spirit, that they never lost their culture. Their culture was really important because that is what defined who we are as Carrie and Sakani nations. And through their strength, we continue to seek their advice and guidance to move forward in this opportune time for us in Canada to rebuild our own child and family services structure and governance. We call that jurisdiction, and Mary T.G. always says it's such a big word, people are scared of it. All it means is that we're going to exercise our own authority. So what makes us different at Carrie Sakani from all the other agencies? In my experience, we take the holistic approach, meaning that we need health at the table, we need legal at the table, we need housing at the table, and so on and so forth. And in the academic world, they call that social determinants of health, meaning that all these sectors must work together to produce good outcomes. And certainly that is not a new concept to us as First Nations, because we're all integrated with each other, with our land, with our air, with the animals, and we all respect that being. This year, our theme, as Chief Priscilla said, Skakababe, Nizkakbe, meaning for our children, and we really need to take heed to that. And at this time, we do have the opportunity to make the changes that will sustain the pressures of colonization. Having said that, we have a lot of work ahead of us. We've done a lot of work to be where we're at today, but much more needs to happen. And it only can happen if we walk together in this path towards healing. And where to start is ensuring that the children today are provided the best platform to achieve their best potential. Having said that, I think it's also important to look at some of the challenges that many of our people face, particularly in the last 10 years when the toxic drugs not only entered into the communities, in our communities, but across the country, if not the world. And that is a really hard issue to tackle because it's dealing with housing, lack of housing, it's dealing with mental health, it's dealing with displacement. And once the toxic drugs get a hold of a person, it's really hard for that person to shake it. So we need to collectively work with governments to see how we could arrest the toxic drug crises. And I've been talking about this since I was with the First Nations Health Authority since 2016, and today we still not have an answer to that dilemma that we face. It is a crisis. The chiefs did issue a state of emergency in 2017 when this started happening, and to date, the progress is still slowly moving forward, but certainly there's a lot of attention to it. Getting back to our opportunity to design our own laws, I'm proud to say that we're probably 95% complete with our laws, and last week, and it seemed like yesterday, we had over 300 participants, including chiefs, band counselors, members, and elders, attend a leadership forum in Prince George where we exchanged information, provided a draft of our laws, broke them into themes, and received feedback on areas where we can improve. So we're going to rework that jurisdiction or that legislation, Carrier-Sakani legislation. It'll be the best legislation, as Priscilla said, in the country, and I'm looking forward to really working with community to enact that legislation. Again, I think it's really important that we take this work collectively and ensure that it does serve the community and not the institutions that we are building. Because otherwise, we may as well continue with the federal or the provincial government, which we know their practices continues today to be harmful to our families. It's a system that is not based on healing. It's a system based on policing our people and taking children away, and that's continuing to this day. And it's a huge monopoly, and I said this several years ago, that our children are being treated as commodities, because one child is worth $60,000 a year to some foster homes. But also, on the flip side, we do have some good foster parents that do care for the children. And on the other side, some of the children that age out do not have a place to go. And we cannot afford that type of a system within our communities. So, as you know, some of you that have reviewed our structure, it really includes the decision makers as elders and matriarchs from each community. If there's an issue with a family or a child, that case gets assessed, recommendations are brought forward to the elders committee for them to assist in designing a care of plan. The care of plan is then presented back to the family as a whole through a family group conferencing, endorsed, and then we provide the preventative supports to that individual. That's what our law is based upon. So it's not adversarial, it's more coming from a healing and relative perspective. So as you will hear and read in the report, CSFS has been busy and continues to be busy. We have a lot of capital projects happening throughout our territory. In a couple of, or I think next week, the foundry in Burns Lake is going to be opening. It'll be a grand opening, I think, on the 14th? 16th. So that's going to be an exciting event. The facility is beautiful. It's a place where youth of all colors can come together and hold each other up moving forward. So it doesn't matter if you're First Nations, if you're white, Chinese, or whatever. it's a safe space for them to support each other, and CSFS will provide the supports for those young people to be respectful so that they, in turn, can learn how to teach their kids to be respectful, to move forward as one human race. We've never had that because racism was huge when I was growing up in Burns Lake. And in fact, I was the first one to lay a human rights complaint around the racist local watering hole, and I won. Twice. So I think we are at a time of change, a time that will really provide a good foundation for many of our nation's members to move forward in a good way and to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. And how we're going to do that is by some priorities at CSFS with our strategic plan. Supporting nation rebuilding. It's really important that as CSFS we continue to grow, that we take our nations with us and not the other way around, or the nations take with us as well, hand in hand moving forward. Without nation rebuilding, we just become a lone institution again. And we don't want to do that. And I've always said that in the next 10, 20 years, I see CSFS shrinking to become a center for excellence in policy development, training, and research, while we continue to support the nations to deliver a wide array of services at their choosing. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done around nation rebuilding. Cultural foundation, again, the services we provide must have cultural foundation embedded into it. It must be a cultural fit. We cannot, while there's some good work happening and good models across the country, we could borrow from them. My brother, Chief Wilf, always said, don't reinvent the wheel, do your research, and if things work, acculturate it and implement it. So we take from best worlds and develop services that will work with culturally hardwired. Strengthening organizational capacity, ensuring that we provide the necessary resources to our staff, to our community members that work in the field of child and family and health, the best skills available so that they could perform their duties in the best way possible. Innovative and high quality of services. Again, looking at the resources we require to be very innovative. For example, in the Tachik Lake Healing Center, our vision is to ensure that the clients that come through the healing center are provided with the best services and supports as they move home. Most often, when they move home, there are no supports or very limited supports for them. We want to make sure that we change that. In addition, the healing center would be both steeped in culture, but also in the medical profession so that they get the best possible service. For instance, the current process for entering to a treatment center is that you have to be sober for 4 days before you're admitted to a detox center in Prince George. And that doesn't work for our people. When our people decide that they want to access treatment, it needs to be done right away because there are too many influences outside their circle to wait for 4 days. In that 4 days, they will just go back right into that cycle. So the elders and the board of directors insisted that our healing center would include a 10-bed detox unit. So that's still the vision, and that work is still happening as we build the center. And Tracy will provide an update in terms of where we're at. And just ensuring that we use research, we talk to community in improving our services and the quality of services that we have, and we'll continue to grow. We'll continue to grow side by side with each other, with our communities, so that we do not make the mistakes that institutions have made, resulting in poverty. I mean, when we look at pre-contact, our people were self-sufficient. The resources, the land was their bank. And of course, 120 years later, that has changed. Our people, because of colonization, were thrust into poverty. And that's going to take a long time for us to ensure that we eradicate poverty in our communities. And how do we do that? By making sure that we create space for the children today so that they become strong, powerful, Yankadane, Carrier-Sakani Nation members. Masaicha. Before that, thank you to the Board of Directors for their support. Thank you to the staff who worked tirelessly. As I said, it was like yesterday we met at the Civic Center, so I do work the staff quite hard, and I thank you for that, particularly comms. Masai.